Welcome back to Edwin Eisendrath's It's the Democracy, Stupid on WCPT 820.
We are back. I am Joel Ostrow and sitting in for Edwin today. And we now will turn the discussion for the last hour to Ukraine. You may have heard that President Zelensky of Ukraine is making the pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump to discuss the latest peace proposal. I'll just say that if you think that anything about this is going to lead to peace, I want what you're smoking. If you think it is going to lead to a ceasefire, you're not paying attention. Really what this is about is the radical turn of the United States away from Ukraine to supporting Russia. President Zelensky is offering concessions that he knows Russia will not accept, and hoping that the rejection might convince the regime here in the United States to change its mind and turn back to supporting Ukraine, or at least hopefully not supporting Russia. It's gone unreported here in this country, which sort of harkens back to the conversation in the last hour about matters of government control over the media and censorship. But quite quietly, the Trump administration has lifted sanctions on U.S. companies selling arms and weapons components to Russia. This was reported in European media outlets last week. We will see what that leads to. It does not sound like it will lead to anything good. We are joined this hour by the recently minted Sergeant Rima Ziuraitas. She is a Chicago area native who went to Ukraine shortly after the invasion, the all-out invasion by Russia in 2022. She is a certified TACMED instructor, meaning she instructs Army medics in Ukraine. She has been there saving lives every day for the last several years. Rima, it is a delight to have you. She is joining us from somewhere in Ukraine, which is all you need to know. She won't tell me exactly where because she can't. But Rima, welcome.
Hey, Joel. It's great to be back on again and talking with you. It's great. Merry Christmas, by the way. Very belated Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a Happy New Year. Rima, for those who have not heard you before, can you briefly sketch out your path since the all-out invasion began, the what and the why, because precious few have gone to the lengths that you have gone in your support of Ukraine. So maybe sketch out your path a little bit for us.
Sure thing. So for me, it didn't start in 2022. It actually started in 2014. So when Russia invaded Crimea, that was kind of the catalyst for me because I am Lithuanian by ethnic descent. And so I live in Chicago where we have a lot of Eastern Europeans, including a huge Lithuanian and Ukrainian community. So when that happened, both communities kind of got together to lobby Washington. We made the pilgrimage out to D.C. to try to talk to congressional officials about like why this is a problem and why, this particular act of Russian aggression is only the first step, et cetera, and so forth. So then fast forward to 2022 and the full-scale invasion, I started on the humanitarian aid side, and I was just packing a lot of humanitarian aid for the first 3 months, and then got the opportunity to work for a nonprofit, Blue Yellow USA, which is based in Chicago. And we were going back and forth to Ukraine to bring non-lethal military aid and medical supplies. And at some point, I had felt that I would be in better service to the people and also soldiers by becoming a medic. And so I did all the training in country and then became a certified instructor on top of that. I was recruited into the Foreign Legion and have been serving for nearly a year in my role as a stabilization point medic and tactical medical instructor. So that's the Cliff Notes version.
That's the Cliff. And this ascent, is that the right word, to sergeant? How did that come about?
It's a recommendation that's made. And so I've passed the entrance exam, and now I still have sergeant's duties and one more course before I get my stripes. But, we're close enough, I guess. But that's a recommendation that's made by higher level command. So that's how that happened.
Which is tremendous. Congratulations on that. Although I think it goes without saying that I and everyone listening wishes you didn't need to do any of that. Can you maybe update us a little bit on the current situation at the front, how things have changed over the last year or so for Ukraine and those fighting on behalf of Ukraine?
Yes, of course. Obviously, we're kind of feeling the squeeze right now with aid kind of being severely curtailed from many places. And that's, it's just part of the thing. And Russia is relentless. So it just keeps coming with more guys, more drones, more ruthless every time. In my particular part of the front line, the drone situation is so bad that medical evacuation is pretty much impossible right now. We have guys sitting on the zero with serious injuries that can't be evac'd out and have been waiting for weeks, like almost like a month for evacuation. And so what we're down to, because I work at the stabilization point, so we have infantry medics that are on the line from other squadrons, not just mine. And it resorts to telemedicine because they have to basically phone a friend in order to make sure they're treating these casualties properly, because it's now turned into a prolonged field care situation.
Good God.
And so this is something that I do for other medics, and also just because, they need to know that someone else is on the other line that can help them, and supplies need to be drone dropped in. And that is a huge problem.
That was my next question. I'm interrupting because, and you'll see why, and hopefully you'll thank me. Is it possible to get supplies, medical supplies, to you or to where they're needed right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So for me, it's a simple situation because I work in a stabilization point that's further out from the zero line. But for them, it has to be by drone. So currently, we are doing okay in terms of getting them supplies by drone.
Okay, but I want to correct that before we go on, because I know listening to the radio or streaming, people can drop in and out all the time, Rima, and I'm going to repeat this a lot. So what Rima just said is that it's possible to get things, but there's a catastrophic shortage of supplies. And as Rima, I'll get to this, there are improper or useless or even harmful supplies that are often sent. You can contribute really in any amount. There's a whole range of things from bandages to tourniquets to other kinds of equipment that are desperately needed at the front. There is a wish list through Amazon where supplies can get to the stabilization points where RIM is at and can get to the people who need it. The website is tinyurl, T-I-N-Y, the word tinyurl.com/medic-wishlist. tinyurl.com/medic-wishlist if you wish to help. Rim, I'm going to do that several times while we're talking.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit, and we did the last time, but some time has passed, how is morale among the soldiers at the front? I know there was reporting that things had gone more positive a little bit after the European expression of support when the U.S. sort of dramatically turned away. How is that going now?
I think at this point, every time, how do I say this in a polite way? The blustering or blowharding starts from the White House. We just ignore it because we know nothing positive is coming, and it's it's empty threats or empty words, and so a lot of it doesn't even. It's hard to say how it doesn't affect morale anymore because we know it's not a source of morale, and so there are other factors that affect morale more than what happens from the White House. It's more that we have this. Let me give an example from a personal side. So our rotation has been very difficult, and we've lost a lot from our unit.
So sorry.
And even some of my own friends. So it's been very difficult for us, and that is more what's harmful to morale right now than what's going on, because what happens in the White House is causing us frustration, but it's something we don't have control over.
Yeah.
Right. So in my particular microcosm, my tiny side of the 1,000 kilometers of the front line, it's more what's going on right in front of us that affects our morale more than what's going on thousands of miles away. And it's trying to keep a positive outlook in general when things like that happen, and when things go really wrong, and they really went very wrong this time.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's been a giant difficulty for us. And for me personally, every day I have to tell myself, your friend died fighting what he believed in. And it would be a disservice to quit, stop, complain, or cry, because it would not be what he would do. And he would say, I want you to move forward. And so that's kind of the way that I deal with it, is one foot in front of the other, because forward is the only way. And people depend on me and others to keep going as well. And so that's kind of like where we keep going. What is our motivator? How we deal with our grief is to put it into work. And also by celebrating the small things, like getting to celebrate Christmas for the first time in a long time, that kind of stuff, because my friend doesn't get to. He doesn't get another Christmas with his family, So really, morale is rooted in the small wins. It's in the way we take care of each other and celebrating those things, as opposed to trying to get the big wins that we are unattainable. Anything that's within our control is how we go for that.
Can you, I didn't really get to this. We took that turn. I know you only see what Rima Ziuraitas' eyes can see where you're at. Do you notice, do you feel territorial changes at the front?
Sure.
Is it fluid? Is it all one direction in the wrong direction? Does it go back and forth? Like what? I think when I was asking before what the current situation is, without realizing it, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, so that it depends on all areas of the front. Obviously, we know that Pokrovsk is probably not going to stay in our possession. That's just based on everything we're seeing. We are losing some ground. There's you can see that on the battle maps. That's Deep State map will show you. It's unfortunate because, we don't have enough resources, right?
Yep.
So like we allocate all of our resources to try and save other parts of the front, and that leaves gaps in other spots where there might need to be reinforcement. And it's because we're so dependent on the outside world for resources when we don't have it, that's kind of why we end up losing ground as well. So it's one of those things where it's like hard to say, but we are losing some ground. So it's a difficult time for us right now.
How frequently do you, your unit, wherever you are, have to sort of pack up and move?
We don't have to do it very often. Okay. The lines do change, but so far it's not such a drastic change that we've had to pick up and move per se. It's more rooted in if the lines change drastically, but our stab point is far enough out where we don't have to do that right now. Could that change in 3 months? Absolutely. From the time I started my rotation in the spring to now, where in the spring we could walk around outside freely, we cannot do that anymore because FPVs can reach our stabilization point, and now we have FPV netting.
Drones, so we're talking about.
Yeah. Drones. Yeah, absolutely.
How frequent are how frequent do you hear them, see them in a day?
For us at the stab, it's, not as frequent because they're not coming that far out frequently. But it's been at least a couple of times per week, which was a very large uptick from never, is more or less where I'm at with that one. So it's just kind of dealing with that particular shock of, hey, we can't actually go outside anymore during the day because it's not safe anymore. And that kind of harkens to what happens in Kherson, where they play human safari with civilians.
Yeah.
So we know that our directive is, outside of short walks to like maybe the small market, we can't really walk too much outside too frequently.
That's definitely a change from the last time we spoke.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think given news reports, which are fewer and far between here, you have to look now for news about what's happening in Ukraine in terms of the war anyway. Everything's just Trump over here. It's nauseating. But the attacks on Kyiv yesterday did crack through the news barrier in some way. Can you tell us what, if anything, you know about the results of those, and either in any definition of that word, results, I guess?
You broke up a little bit. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I didn't get the whole question.
I'm talking about the attacks, the recent attacks over the last 24 hours on Kyiv.
Yes.
And what the outcomes of that may have been that we might not have heard about here.
It was pretty bad. A lot of residential buildings were hit, and they flew low this time. Normally, they hit the tops of the buildings. This time, they hit the lower halves of buildings on purpose. They hit a bus stop. An elder care home was hit. So these poor elderly people had to be dragged out into the cold. And it is very cold right now in Ukraine. These are all civilian targets.
Yep.
It was targeted attacks that were all over Kyiv. And to be honest, they sent 500 drones and 40 Shaheds, if I'm not mistaken, to all over Ukraine. But the concentration was Kyiv. So the idea is to wreak havoc on the civilian people. Like the tactic here is that Russia is trying to break the people of Ukraine mentally. And so let's do this over the holiday season, right?
Yeah. Where
we can make people feel like, they will break them somehow. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And the thing is, people are very resilient, and especially Ukrainians. Ukrainians are extremely resilient. And you will find that 9 times out of 10 after an attack like this, which knocked out the power, by the way, for a long time, because they hit a power grid as well. So it's not just that they're targeting civilian infrastructure. They're also continuing to target the power grid. So people are without power and they're without heat.
Well, that is civilian infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in general, what you'll see is restaurants are open, shops are open, generators are humming all over the streets, and people are still getting together. They're going outside, they're having a coffee, they're going to a restaurant because it's an act of defiance to live in spite of the fact that someone's trying to kill you 24/7. It's probably one of the cooler things in general, but the attack was very serious. It was, I believe, 6 or 7 districts that were hit, and the attacks went on not just overnight. So it started at 3 a.m. and ended, I think, somewhere around 10 o'clock. And then another UAV showed up in the afternoon.
Wow.
So it's like ongoing mental torture. And it's just what Russian tactics are. This is not new, unfortunately.
And for people who may be less familiar about this, every single one of those launches of drones, of missiles at civilian targets, each one is its own war crime.
Yes.
So Russia is responsible for literally thousands of war crimes daily in Ukraine, for whatever that's worth. Can you maybe give us, and I promise we're going to spend the second half hour talking about the needs, the things you need, the things you don't need. But before we get to that, and before we have to take a short break, maybe you could talk a little bit about, maybe give us 2 or 3 of your greatest triumphs, like the things that have really brought you satisfaction, or, I don't know, the feel goods.
There's a lot.
You can give us a few. We got time.
So I'm also a little bit sick, so I apologize if I cough. But the minute I get like any kind of downtime, my body goes right illness.
Yeah, I bet.
The wins are in being able to be there for the soldiers that I've trained in basic training who went straight to the front line after they got medical training. And if they end up in my stab, they all recognize me and they're like, we're so glad that you're here. And it's a comfort to them to have someone who can communicate with them and tell them, hey, everything's a little bit messed up right now, but we're going to take care of you. And we're going to do our best to help you. And it's, for me, that's a huge win every time to be able to like be there for them. That's a big deal. And a lot of my wins are grounded in that. Like outside of my role as a medic, I do a lot also for making sure that our squadron, our guys on the line have enough food, that they have, the medics have what they need in terms of medication. I spent Christmas off shift gathering treats and other things for them. And so they know that they're cared about.
Yeah.
Like that's a big deal for me. And they know that like they might be spending Christmas in what equates to hell on earth, but that we are there for them even if they can't see us. Other wins always revolve around saving a life. That's the biggest win, is always being able to save a life. Or at least make sure that they have the best quality of life possible despite some pretty catastrophic injuries. I think on a very personal note, when my friend died on his mission, I was able to be there for my other very close friend who woke up from surgery almost immediately after, and I didn't want him to wake up alone. And it was, to be able to be there for him was a big win for me. It's hard to, it's funny because I don't think about those things a lot.
I know.
But when you ask me, it's like, this is kind of where the wins are for me. It's all rooted in being there for my guys and for my friends. It's like, those are the biggest wins, or being able to say yes to a unit that desperately needs tourniquets. Like whenever, like, and I know this is coming up in the second half, but like whenever people like buy from the wish list, or I get a bunch of the supplies that come in and like, I can actually message other, it's a huge win. I can message other medics and be like, I have what you need. I will send it to you tomorrow, and be able to like hear or see the relief in their messages or their voice notes. That's a win. That is a big win for me. Like
tiny URL, tinyurl.com/medic-wishlist. Rima, you did, I would add one that I saw, I can't remember when, but one of your social media posts about someone who you had trained who saved someone at the front who had been wounded, or patched him up, and thanked you for training him, or maybe you ran into him and he told you the story. It was something like that. That must also be tremendously rewarding. You can follow Rima on social media, I believe, and what she's experiencing. Do you want to share your Instagram? You have a public one, right?
Yes. So it's Rima Med UA is the handle. And I have the same handle for Twitter as well. My Twitter is more of the small bite stuff, and my Instagram revolves around TCCC education for tactical medicine, but also personal anecdotes as well from patients. So that's what my social media entails. And you're absolutely right, Joel. The funny part is I don't think about that stuff a lot, because it's like, it's part of my job. It's like an extension of who I am as a human being. So like, I don't think of, and my friend, actually, it's very funny because one of my very good friends was like, I don't think you realize the impact that you have.
I tell you that all the time, do I not? Yeah. Tell me again, Rima, the social media, Rima UA, is it?
Rima Med UA.
Rima Med UA, all one word, or is there a hyphen in there?
All one word.
Rima Med is RIMA Med UA. Cool.
Yeah.
We have to take a break. We'll come back, Rima, and talk about the actual things that are good and bad that you guys receive, and the impact it has. We'll be back after a short break.
You're listening to Edwin Eisendrath's It's the Democracy, Stupid on WCPT 820.
I'm Joel Ostrow, back here with Rima Ziuraitas from somewhere near the Ukrainian front. Rima, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about the situation with supplies in general, not just where you are, but the medical supply situation. I want to preface that. Obviously, what Ukraine most needs is weapons and air defense, but neither I nor the people listening here can provide that. But can you talk about what the situation is with supplies on the medical side that people can help with?
Absolutely. So a lot of how do I, we had a figure thrown out there a few years ago, and I think it still reigns true today, but that the medical core of Ukraine's military is dependent for 90% of its medical supplies from the outside world. Mm-hmm. So that is where the bar is. Mm-hmm. And we basically need everything. And in general, this can be anything from ultrasound machines to blood fridges to tourniquets to fluid warmers, like the whole 9 yards. So, of course, we have the capabilities of people that work in hospitals. We have the capabilities of people that work in medical supply. And then we have most people that sit at home and go, I have an Amazon account. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, the Amazon account is really useful because we can get tourniquets, hemostatic gauze, regular gauze, pressure bandages, because a lot of this for military medics like me and others, it boils down to the basics, which is stopping the bleed. Yeah. And we're always running out of tourniquets. We never have enough. The gap is huge. I just had a request for 30 tourniquets literally 15 minutes ago. And as we know, those things are about $30 a piece, for cat tourniquets, because let me tell you right now, Chinese tourniquets don't fly. And we have had enough of people sending us the 3-pack of $12 tourniquets that are actually just a death sentence in a package. And I do feel very strongly about that because, no, you cannot Walmart your way out of this one. It doesn't work that way. And in this particular case, buying cheap is just, you're not helping by sending in triple of one item that's going to cost the life of 3 people. Right. It's not reliable. Those tourniquets, they snap, they break. The part that is most important is that plastic rod. And when that snaps, the belt of it is pretty much useless. It'll do some for stopping the bleed, but that's not the mechanism that tightens the whole thing. It's that rod. And when the rod snaps, you basically just it's why we tell you not to use a belt to stop the bleeding. It doesn't work either. It's not that's not the thing that stops the bleeding. So we ask people to dig a little deeper and maybe send a few less tourniquets, but at least we have maybe 1 or 5 or 10 are better than nothing. And that's the problem with even with the Amazon wish list. When I first went on there and sent a batch to you, you open up an item and then Bezos gives you suggestions for other things, and those need to stress: don't buy the other things, even if they look the same. The items that Rima has put on this wish list are ones we know will work, that can save people's lives. Is that fairly accurate? 100%. And I've had people try to argue this with me on the internet, and I'm like, you are not here. You don't know better. I'm sorry. Because it's not, we've tested it, and it's not, and I don't mean by testing it in we took it out and made a field test. It's that's what was given in the beginning of the war, and it failed in the field every time. And that includes rhino rescue. Anything that's literally made in China is going to fail, right down to their hemostatic gauze, which stops the bleeding 5 times faster than regular gauze because it's treated with a very special chemical that occludes blood faster. And chest seals, their chest seals don't stick. That really sucks because the thing is, eventually a chest seal will not stick to the body because everybody's sweating, there's blood, whatever. But if you take it right out of the package and it's going to fall off after 5 minutes, then it's not worth it either, because then you got to get the duct tape out a lot faster than you would for, say, a high-fin chest seal. And that's just the thing that we run into. And like people are like, well, it looks the same. It's not. when people send generic hemostatic gauze that's in this like black packaging that says hemostatic gauze, but there's no other information other than the fact that it's made in China. I've tested it. It doesn't react.
What's it supposed to do? What do you mean it doesn't react?
So things like combat gauze made by Quick Clot or Celox will react to fluid, where it will turn the water, instead of it being clear, it turns it into this opaque color. And I usually use red dyed water, and it becomes opaque. And with this Chinese-made hemostatic gauze, there's literally no reaction, and the gauze doesn't soak up the fluid, which is a completely different situation with Quick Clot or Celox, where it does both. You can see the chemical reaction, and you can also see that it is actually soaking up the fluid and making a difference in the fluid being gone and the wound being packed properly. And the thing is, we need it to be able to do both things. If in the body, it'll react to the blood. Obviously, I'm not using real blood. I've done these tests online. My blog has it as well. Because I need people to visually understand that it's not just, because we want like the high-end expensive, that's not it at all. We are asking for what is approved by the Tactical Combat Casualty Care Committee, official United States committee, on what is usable in the field, as opposed to giving us the knockoffs.
Yeah, if someone is giving, you're giving because you want to save someone's life or someone's limb.
Yes.
And so if you want to do that, do that. But like you said, you can't cheap out on it, because cheaping out's going to cost the life or the limb. I think that's pretty much your message on that, yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
So on that wish list, can you identify, like, I know everything is needed. Can you even identify a most urgent?
Absolutely. It's always going to be tourniquets.
Can you explain why that is? I mean, to me, it's duh, but.
Absolutely. Essentially, the main issue is the catastrophic injuries that come from the explosives that FPV drones carry. So what we are seeing is constant catastrophic major bleeding injuries that require the tools needed to stop the bleed. Now, tourniquets are used to stop bleeding on arms and legs. The hemostatic gauze is used to pack injuries that are on areas of the body that you can't tourniquet. So the junctional areas, like say your pelvic area, your neck, or your armpits, where you have all of your major arteries. So you need both of those items in order to stop life-threatening bleeding. So it's always going to come down to the basics. For the guys that are on the front line, they need the tools to stop the bleed. So my top three are always going to be Cat 7 tourniquets, hemostatic gauze that's either Quick Clot or Celox, and then we have compressed gauze to go along with that. Compressed gauze is just regular gauze, but it's helpful if you've got a huge wound, and pressure bandages. So these are our things, and they're outlined in the wish list by highest priority, and also by the most need. So, and in general, I do create IFACs for soldiers. So like, that's why there are all the other items that would go into an individual first aid kit on that wish list. But again, all of the stop the bleed items are always our number one need and wish.
Tell me a little about that latter. You said you put together first aid packs for soldiers?
Yes. So they're called IFACs. They're individual first aid kits.
Okay.
And in every one is all the uniform items you need in order to go into combat that will save your life, or at least attempt to save your life. It's going to be your tourniquet, your hemostatic gauze, your pressure bandage, something called an NPA, which creates an airway for you if a casualty is unconscious. Your assorted gauze pads, your thermal blanket, eye shield, pill pack, which has your antibiotic and your Tylenol, and an anti-inflammatory. It'll have your casualty card. It'll have a Sharpie, and gloves, and a pair of trauma shears. burn dressing, and other assorted small Band-Aids. So it's basically, we call it a human repair kit, and that's what we use.
Wait, so these are going to medics in the field, not to all the soldiers?
No, those go to soldiers. Everyone carries
a tourniquet.
Yep. And actually, soldiers need a minimum of 4 tourniquets to go out on the battlefield.
Got 4 limbs.
Yep. So that's the other problem, is we have to be able to provide that many tourniquets for the guys, or at least, if nothing else, the bare minimum is 2. What I would prefer is obviously they have 1 for each limb. That's the standard operating procedure we would like to work from, but obviously resources are limited. So they have at least 1, and if we can give them a second one, we do. But medics carry a whole bag, and it's even more stocked with more. If they're combat medics, they have more advanced tools in there. If it's a CLS bag, then that is just a giant IFAC with extra IFAC supplies. And someone who is trained as a combat lifesaver, which is what CLS stands for, will carry that bag for extra resources.
Where are most of the medical supplies coming from?
If everybody, it's I mean that when I say it. So when the phrase "it takes the village" really applies to medical supplies, the way that I'm supplied is through so many different walks of life. I've got surgeons that help from the U.S. We have regular people that are fundraising for medicines. We have hospitals that are donating themselves. We have medical supply companies that give us a discount rate for some of the machines. Everyday people that donate through the wish list. It's quite literally, it comes from everywhere and everyone. I wish I could say there was
I thought you were going to say the EU or France or Germany or something, like government.
No government. Not that I know of. I know that it happens, but I don't see it at my level. My level is completely individual. Is it happening on a government level? Probably, but I don't see it myself. We've seen ambulances donated from governments. That at least I can say I have spotted that.
Yeah.
Machines and other things will go hospital to unit. So it'll be donated from hospitals to medical units and things like that. But other than that, if there's medical supplies going government to government, I don't see that. So
all these medical supplies at the front that you and other medics are using and distributing to soldiers are coming from private donations?
Yeah, it's a pretty big amount.
What the hell? I not have that on my bingo card, Rima. Wow. So all the more important for people to help.
Yeah.
tinyurl.com/medic-wishlist. It is on Amazon. I know that a lot of listeners to WCPT are wary of Amazon, trying to use Amazon less. I know I am. This is one exception we beg you to make. Because that is a way to get these. How do the supplies get from the Amazon wish list to Rima Ziuraitas in Ukraine?
So, and I want to preface to say that it's not to say that governments aren't helping. The EU might be, but again, I don't see it at my level. Yeah. So that's not something that I'm visualizing. I'm sure it's happening. I just don't see it as a, small cog in a big wheel. But in how it gets it to us, we work with a nonprofit, Blue Yellow USA. They're based in Chicago, and they do it by flight, so checked luggage. That part of it gets to us, and then they also do it by
we got to rewind, right? So Joel Ostrow goes on Amazon and orders 5 tourniquets and 5 boxes of the gauze. Hits order, pays, it goes to Blue Yellow?
Yes.
Okay. Then what?
Yep. So Blue Yellow being also a 501c3 nonprofit, so we trust them a lot. They then pack everything and get it ready along with other units that are requesting stuff. So it's not just me, right?
Yeah.
So they handle a bunch of other units. So once they're ready and they have enough bags, they go with quite a bit of either checked luggage or a full sea container with a volunteer runner to Ukraine if they're going by airline, and that it gets distributed from on the ground to Ukraine, in Ukraine, to the medics themselves.
And if we order from Rima's wish list, it might end up going anywhere, right? The Blue Yellow is going to distribute that stuff evenly, or if we order from Rima's wish list, does it get to Rima's?
Rima's wish list goes to Rima.
Oh, okay.
That is specifically for me.
Okay.
But those items that come to me, they don't just go to our unit, they go to other units as well.
Sure. So they go based on need, right? Yeah.
Yes. Blue Yellow has its own separate entity for donating to them. If people want to do donations to them to give to the units they work with, they can do that absolutely as well. But my wish list is specifically for me.
So there's got to be a listener who's as big an idiot as I am. If I wanted to include a box of Twinkies, would that get to Rima too?
Yeah, it would. There's a P.O. box. You could absolutely do it. Yes, you could. You could absolutely include that as well if you really wanted to. People have sent all kinds of stuff, snacks, protein, Pop-Tarts, hot sauce, all that stuff.
I was wondering if it came through this method, though, because this stuff, for those of you, if you get on her Instagram or social media, right, like this kind of crap does bring joy, and this woman, like any drop of joy we can get to Rima. Like I'm a fan of that. So I didn't realize it could come through the same route. Like that doesn't piss off the people at Blue Yellow who are like, why am I including this? Yeah.
They're also like, I mean, I'm a huge Dunkin' Donuts fan, so Dunkin' Donuts coffee, like any flavor, any whatever, I'm a big fan. And so my friends all know this, and so they'll send stuff to the PO box, and like
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I'm a Dunkin' Donuts fan. Sorry, Starbucks people, but
no, me too.
Donuts.
But not the donuts. Those would be kind of gnarly by the time they got to you, right?
It's the coffee. It's the coffee. But no, the Blue Yellow folks, they feel the same. There's a big thing when it comes to morale coming from like something from home, snacks, coffee, candy, whatever it is. Like I had one donor who is a friend of mine. He's a great person. Love him a lot. He supported me a lot at the beginning of my journey and would send fruit roll-ups. And it is insane what you crave when you can't have something, and you'd never eat it back home. It was never like, I probably never touched a fruit roll-up after I turned like 16.
Yeah.
And the minute that like, and I'm like 37 years old, right? So like the minute that this guy is like, I'm sending you a box full of fruit roll-ups. For a second, I was 7 years old again, and everything was right in the world. I started sharing it with my other like fellow American soldiers, and it would make their day. Yeah. And that was like all I needed. And so from that point on, I would always welcome morale boosts in the form of food or coffee or tea, because it made a huge difference, not just for me, but also the people around me that missed home a little bit. Yeah. And, hot sauce, all that stuff, cookies. Like I started this campaign on Twitter because I've got a couple of Australians around me, and their big thing is Tim Tam cookies. And so I literally sent out a I don't know. I was like, this might be a shot in the dark, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I went through Twitter and I was like, hey, any of my Australian followers, like, would it be weird if I asked you guys to send some Tim Tams for some very homesick Australians? Man, I had like 30 packets show up within 10 days. And I was like, and those guys were so happy. And it was like the best part of it. And actually, we have one Australian soldier that unfortunately has lost an arm. And I had the week his injury happened, I had one Australian donor who frequently sends Australian snacks. He had just sent a package. I just got it, full of like their crackers, their cookies, like everything, just like short of Vegemite, right?
Yeah.
And so essentially I was like, and I went to go see him quite literally the day after it happened. And I was like, I know everything is like really wrong in the world right now, but I have some things that might cheer you up. And he just sat there holding a plastic bag full of his own food and just crying.
Yeah.
And I just hugged him and I was like, I know. And that's what I mean. Like, it all matters. It might seem really minute and like really just kind of random, but like you never know what's going to help a soldier in the worst period or worst moment of his life. And if we can just like lessen that suffering just a little bit, it makes it all worth it, at least in my opinion.
And you're doing that every day, Rima. tinyurl.com/medic-wish list. Rima, how long, like what's the turnaround time? Like if someone places an order today, on average, do you know, like when does it reach you?
So it depends
Forget the holidays, you know.
Right. So it highly depends on the volunteers available, right? So we always need volunteers who can fly. And essentially, like, or I should say the NGO needs volunteers who can fly. And so if they can get somebody who's available for the flight, then it can take anywhere from like maybe every 3 weeks to every like 6 weeks.
Tell me about the flights. I know you said before, like who's doing these flights?
So it's volunteers within like either the Ukrainian community or American volunteers that want to work, you know, for things on Ukraine. So essentially they fly out with the supplies.
On commercial flights or like what? Or they
commercial flights.
Yeah. Okay.
Regular flights. So they get regular flights. It's checked luggage.
Yeah.
Everything is done by Blue Yellow.
Okay.
And they fly into Krakow. They're met by people that assist Blue Yellow. So Ukrainians will meet you and then help get across the border, and make sure all the paperwork is in order. And then as soon as it gets into, say, Lviv, it starts getting sent out to recipients. So I get my stuff, other units get their stuff. That's essentially the process. It's just getting the volunteers to fly it over is the big one.
Thank you for that. We've got like 5 more minutes. Is there a message you'd like to give? Anything that we haven't covered that you want people to know about what people are going through, what you're going through, anything at all?
I want to impart that we may not always be in the news, but the war is going on every day. And it's not just at the front line. It's against the people. It's constantly, Russia is hammering us to break the Ukrainian spirit so that it can walk in and take over. And so as resilient as we are, we beg you not to forget about Ukraine and remember that we're still out here fighting every day. It's important to remember that Ukraine is holding back a very, very big force of evil. And it's not easy to do. And your help helps us get through it. And so we ask you to remain by our side. And if you think you can help, reach out to whoever you think needs help, volunteer, because, you know, we don't get to turn off our TV sets every day. We don't get to turn off our phones. We can't walk away from it. And you guys, even if you can do that, you can still make a difference. So if you feel like you have the time and the energy to volunteer, do so. Reach out. There's so many different, you can look up Blue Yellow USA if you want. You can look up Razum for Ukraine. There are opportunities everywhere to help out. And we need that. You guys are our voice to the rest of the world. We can give you the information, but you have to run with it to help us make a difference.
I thank you, Rima. I forgot a question I wanted to ask when you were talking before.
Sure.
Are there a lot of Americans? And then B, are there a lot of non-Ukrainians that you're working with on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I'm in the Foreign Legion. So
that's right.
Most of us are foreigners. There are more Americans than you think. And they're fighting, and they're not just in my Foreign Legion, they're in the Ukrainian units as well. There are more than you, it even surprises me sometimes, but there are more of us here fighting the good fight than you think. And it means a lot to us when our fellow Americans are by our side and helping us out. So, yeah.
So some of these supplies that are going to your wish list may also get to other Americans out there.
They do.
Not that that really matters, but because it's all going to people who need help.
Yep.
I'm going to do this again. So for those listening, whether live or streaming later, you can get these incredibly, critically needed supplies to the Ukrainian front. tinyurl.com/medic-wishlist. If you insist on not using Amazon, you can also go to tinyurl.com/medic-PayPal, and that will get to Rima for other ways of procuring these supplies. Volunteer with Blue Yellow. Rima, I just want to say for myself and on behalf of everyone listening, you're a hero. What you're doing is beyond heroic. And I wish you, along with everyone else, peaceful sleep. I'm always smile when you post that you've slept, because I know that does not come easily out there. And please be safe, and to you and to everyone that's dear to you out there. Stay safe.
Thank you, Joel. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate you always giving me a bigger voice, and also Ukraine. Thank you so much for that.
Always. Happy New Year.